Very interesting.
Geek Week, behold! This is a silver dollar. A magician named John Mulholland made one of these into something other than a cool silver dollar. In this specific case, he used a silver dollar from 1921, one of the dollars we minted at that time that had the word peace printed right under the eagle on the back of the coin. Mr. Mulholland hollowed the coin out. He left the edges intact, and then he sort of jiggered it so that if you pressed hard on the word peace, the coin would pop open, revealing a secret compartment inside the coin. Mr. Mulholland, the magician, charged the CIA $15 in machine fees when he turned his secret compartment coin over to the agency. The year was 1953. John Mulholland has now earned himself a place in Geek Week because we now know that he essentially was an on-call staff magician for the CIA to teach CIA officers magicians' tricks for deception and disguise and sleight of hand. Mr. Mulholland was a relatively well-known magician at the time. He had a keen interest in exposing people he thought were spiritualist con artists who used magicians' tricks to take advantage of people. In the early 1950s, in the midst of a very hot Cold War, the CIA approached Mr. Mulholland and asked if he could pass on some magician's secrets to the field officers of the agency. Mr. Mulholland produced a manual called Some Operational Applications of the Art of Deception, a how-to book, essentially, of trickery and misdirection. In the early 1970s, the CIA destroyed most of the records of the very controversial larger program of which Mulholland's work was a part. It was a notorious program that, if you have any conspiracy theorist friends you've probably heard of, it was a program called MK Ultra. Mulholland's Magic Manual for Spies was part of the MK Ultra program, and it was believed to have been destroyed with all the other MK Ultra records in the 70s. But abracadabra, a copy survived, and it was recently published in a book called The Official CIA Manual of Trickery and Deception. Joining us now is Robert Wallace, retired CIA officer and author of The Official CIA Manual of Trickery and Deception. Mr. Wallace, thank you very much for joining us.
Rachel, thank you for inviting me.
Why was the CIA interested in what a magician could teach CIA officers?
The CIA at the time, as you properly said, at the height of the Cold War, was very interested in expanding its capability to conduct clandestine operations, covert activities all around the world. And one of the areas that it thought that probably some covert tricks as well as some covert communications capabilities could be developed was from the magic community. John Mulholland, being the leader of the community at the time, was a logical person to seek assistance from.
Mr. Wallace, we enlisted a magician, a sleight of hand expert today to demonstrate some of the things that are described in the manual. I'd love for you to watch this. John Bourne is an international champion of close-up magic. He's an expert in the art of misdirection. For this demonstration, he's going to conceal a poison pill in a matchbook and then slip that pill into our producer Rebecca Dryden's drink. Watch this quickly.
Smoke?
Sure.
Great. Help yourself. And let me get that for you.
Clink. Misdirection. Is there any evidence that CIA officers ever used tricks like that in the manual? Would you ever really want to put a pill in somebody's drink?
Well, in terms of specific use, I'm not aware of that, except from the standpoint that these techniques, that is, techniques of misdirection, techniques of concealment, techniques of fooling the audience, if you will. And in our case, that audience that we want to fool are the counterintelligence officers of opposition services. So we want the capability of our officers to do whatever clandestine act they might be engaged in without being noticed by that opposition.
One other trick from the manual that we acted out today with John Bourne's help, it involves a pencil rigged to conceal a small amount of powder. John Bourne will use, again, misdirection to put that powder into Rebecca's drink. Here it is.
All right, great. Thanks for your time. And actually now I've got to make it to Maine and Mulberry. Do you know where that's at?
Yeah.
What's the best way to make it across town here?
You're going to want to take Cherry Street. See
Okay.
right here.
Perfect. Cherry? Okay. And when I get to Cherry, do I want to take a right or a left?
You'll want to take a left on Cherry, and then it's 2 blocks down.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you very much.
This one obviously involves a bit of technology in that you have to have the pencil geared out like that. Is there, in James Bond movies, there's always the guy that figures all the gadgets and everything for the officer for these sorts of missions. Was that a big part of what the CIA was doing at that time?
Well, that's exactly right, Rachel. The Office of Technical Service at the CIA, which was formed in 1951, is the Q of the Central Intelligence Agency, and that office develops all of the types of gadgets that one would need to conduct espionage, just like Q did for James Bond.
How did you
Except ours tend to be a little more silent.
Yeah, unless attached to Aston Martins. How did you find this manual after it had been missing for so long?
That was one of those, for a historian like myself, one of those eureka moments, perhaps like a prospector finding a diamond or gold unexpectedly. I was going through a whole series, a whole list of documents, titles of documents, and suddenly I saw the name Mulholland with 120 pages. That was all that I needed to say, boy, I think maybe this is a find. Called up the document, and in fact, it was not only his manual, the text of his manual, but also included all of the illustrations which we have included in the book.
Robert Wallace, retired CIA officer, co-author of the official CIA Manual of Trickery and Deception. Thank you very much, sir. It's been a real pleasure to learn this stuff and to be able to talk to you about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
I want to say thanks also as well to John Bourne, expert in the art of misdirection. You can learn more about him on our website, maddowblog.msnbc.com. We'll be right back.